So moving on now, we want to now add another section where we're going to just be talking in more length, or writing, should I say, a description about what this client wanted. So what I've actually gone ahead and done is I've just we've already added some text here. So we have some text now as the within the editor of that case study. So we can actually dynamically inject this into our post as well. So let's do that now. Let's come along and select plus, and then we want to go horizontal. And now we want to drag in a container, and then we're just going to duplicate that container so that we have two like this. So over on this side, I'm thinking we will have the description, and then over on this side, we'll have an image of a iPhone, and that is going to showcase this website on a mobile screen. And again, this is going to have some scroll effects. It's going to be sticky, so it's not going to carry on scrolling until we've passed through that whole the whole website on the phone screen. I think that will look really cool. So, you know, lots of fun stuff that we can actually start doing now. So let's first of all add in the content that we want to add over here. So this time it's just going to be post content. So let's drag that in, and we can see that this is the content that we've got within the body here. So that is being dynamically injected. So that is dynamic exactly as we want it. Let's go ahead and add in a title there. So let's just come down to heading. Let's drag a heading into there. And now we can just say website, or we can say description, right? Of course, you can call this whatever you want. So description there. Let's go ahead and change the style. Let's change that text to accent. Let's change the typography to primary. We could make that a bit smaller. I think that's actually okay like that as that size. So what I will do is just come back to that container, reduce this gap between to maybe 10 or maybe even 14, just reduces that gap between it. Now, of course, this gap between elements, guys, if you find that you're editing or deleting that a lot, of course, you can edit that as a global default. And we do that by coming to our site settings here, coming down to layout, and then from the layout you can see that we've got the gap between elements set as a default of 20. So if you think that is too big and you're tired of having to keep changing it, then just change it as the default, so that by default it will be smaller or bigger, whichever it is that you're looking or hoping to achieve. So that can be changed there as well. So that is looking okay like this. Let's now just edit the text, the styling of this text here, so this post content. So text color, I'm going to select text, and then the typography, I'm going to select text as well. So that is our text there taken care of. What I am going to do now is I'm going to select this top level parent container. I'm just going to add some padding at the top and bottom. So I'm going to uncheck the padding there. On the top, I'm going to add maybe 50. On the right, I'm going to add in the 15, left 15. And then on the bottom, maybe I will add 50 as well. So that is okay like that. Now, over on this side, we want to, let me think how we want to do this. We could drag in an image. So let's go ahead and drag in an image. So we'll drag an image into there. Now let's make this full so that this is a full size image. Now I've attached to this lesson, two iPhone images here, and just note that there is one which is an original. Now the original has, as you can see here, no, that is the grey one, sorry. So the grey one here has the transparency only within the screen. Now the original has the transparency all the way around, including that back. So all I've done there is I've got the first one where I've just actually added a background to the sides there, because you'll notice as we're scrolling through this phone, you'll see part of the website just creeping in up here, and that will make more sense as we're doing it. But just know that you've got the original there so that you can change the outside of this phone to whatever color it is that you're working with within that container. So let's say you had a black background in that container, you would want to make the outside of this phone black and just leave the inside as transparent. And you can do that using something like Canva or Photoshop or any of the other free photo editing softwares that are available. So let's go ahead and close those down. So what we're going to do, I'm going to drag in my iPhone here, which has the grey background. I'm going to drag that in, and then I'm going to select so that we have the phone there. So now what I'm thinking is I'm going to actually put an image of the website's mobile, how it looks on a mobile, and I'm going to add that, so superimpose it into the screen of this iPhone. So to do that, let's come along and let's just repeat. Let's just duplicate this image here. So let's duplicate. Now if we come down, we can select the bottom image. And this time we want to delete the image in there and add a dynamic tag. We're going to come down to ACF and we're going to add in the mobile image. So let's add in that mobile image. Again, just make sure that is set to full. You can see that's a little bit pixelated, but I mean, that's not the end of the world. I can live with that. I'm going to make that center. Now for this image, let's change that width to maybe, let's try and eye it as wide as that phone, maybe 63. Just make sure that that is responsive, which it is, so that's good. And now again, just like we did before, we want to move this up into the phone. So to do that, let's come along to advanced, uncheck the link values, and we want to add this to the, add the negative margin to the top. So I can see that's going to take a while. So let's type in 7, maybe 8, maybe 9. 9 is too much. So let's actually move that back down a bit. And we want this to sit down just below that notch on the iPhone. So maybe like that. That is okay. We can see that the width of that is maybe a little bit too big. So I'm going to come back, make that 62. And that is okay. Now you'll see that that background is a grey on that phone, right? And that is because that is how I've set it, because the image for this container, the parent container, I'm going to use that same colour. So to do that, I'm going to just come to Style, Background, Classic, and then change that to this really light grey colour. So I think it is like that, something like F2 or F3. And that is okay. So now that that is taken care of, we of course are seeing the rest of this all the way at the bottom, and that's not quite how we want it. So first of all, let's just set the Z index of the phone here. So if we open up the navigator here, we can select the top image, which is the phone. Let me type in iPhone there. And then that is the website image, just so that we know which one is what. So on the iPhone, let's now come to advanced and we come to Z index here. Let's just make that greater than what it was. So maybe make that, yeah, anything above 0 is going to move that above the image below it, right? So the Z index is basically its 3D depth. So the higher the Z index, the higher up it will appear on the screen, on the page, right? And the lower Z index will hide below those images or elements that have a greater Z index. So as long as the iPhone has a greater Z index than the website image, then we know that it's going to appear behind the iPhone, so just like it is now. So that is looking okay. So now what we want to do, let's come along to the iPhone image again. So we're already on the iPhone. Let's come down now to motion effects. Let's now make this sticky. Let's make this sticky at the top. Let's also select stay in column, because we will want that to stay in column. And for some reason that doesn't, oh yeah, there we go. So now it is sticking. So for some reason that is going all the way up, which it shouldn't be doing. But anyway, I think that might just be definitely shouldn't be scrolling up to the top there. I'm going to just update and refresh that just to see whether that is a glitch. So let's hit that refresh as it is. Hopefully it isn't doing that annoying scrolling all the way to the top, because that isn't what we want. So now we can see it's not doing that. So it's performing as it should. So we can see that as we scroll down now, it looks like we're scrolling the phone, and it looks really, really cool. Let's actually add the same sticky header to the container over this side. So let's select the advanced under this left-hand container. Let's select motion effects, sticky to the top. Let's select stay in column. So now as we scroll, we get to read the description and scroll down the whole look of this website on a mobile phone until it gets to the bottom. So that is exactly what we want. I'm actually going to add an offset to this container over on the left hand side here. Let's add an offset of maybe 35, and that just means it's going to offset it so that it has some space above it, so we can scroll and read that description as we're looking at the phone. So that's really, really cool, and that is exactly the kind of effect that I was looking for. So let me just grab this background color. So we have this gray background color, F2, F2, F2. I notice that we have this white here. So of course we want to add that color to that border. So let's come to the top container up here where our header is. Let's come along to the shape divider where we have at the bottom that image. Let's just select that gray F2, F2, F2. That was really lucky. I just landed straight on F2. And just so that that color is the same as the container below it. So looking at this now, I would probably look at just alternating the order of these containers, simply because we've got this image here with an image below it and text and text. So it would be better if that was alternated. Now, we could either alternate the top one, we could simply come up to here, just change the direction. So we could move that like that if you wanted it this way, or we could leave it that way, and we could change that direction. We could make that direction change with the containers below it. So we could come down here and change it like that. So it looks like this. In fact, I think that looks really neat. So now we've got this dynamic content up the top with a title and our featured image, not featured, of our desktop image of what it looks like. And then we have what it looks like on the mobile with a description of what this job, of what this task was, what the client asked us to do. So that is basically this taken care of now. What we want to do in the next lesson, in fact, I might actually add a new container in between these two sections just to break these up, just introducing what this category of website design is. So this is going to be a blog. So we would specifically just write some, and this would be hard coded onto this page, just a brief introduction of what our clients can expect if they wanted a blog website from us. So we can actually pick that up in the next lesson. So that's going to bring this lesson to an end.